Guys, so I finally decided that I was going to post all of this in a video just because it'd be a lot easier than typing out 50 different responses. So here we go. Hurricane is and forever will remain dead. There's no secret to that. What we saw of her in episode 5 and 6 were nothing more than a formation of Cobalt's own subconscious as he tries to hold his little sanity. Fun, right? Next question. I'm going to try to answer these all at once, kind of, if that makes sense. Cobalt's death was actually planned since probably before the first episode, really. Even when I had my first initial plan of Blood Brothers, when they were both girls and then later guys again, and then with major character designs and blah blah, Cobalt was always going to die. In my opinion, and just emphasizes one of the main points of what I hoped Blood Brothers to be about, the series was supposed to be set on this concept of realism, how even though life might not always be desirable, it does go on. And with the whole situation of Cobalt slowly drifting apart from his relationship with his brother, the way I saw best was for him to reconcile with him and to prove his loyalties and save Aidan, and then later make peace with his mother and Aidan or whatever. As for the original plan of Blood Brothers, Cobalt was actually supposed to go full-out evil. If you look at some of the casting call lines, it was highly implied, and a few videos I made showed the same. Basically, Cobalt was supposed to slowly snap after his injury and the death of his mother, and then just turn into this vengeful character and whatnot. I decided to trash that idea, however, since it really contradicted with one of the main themes of Blood Brothers, which is the bond and importance of family, so that idea was a bust. Specials? No. Inspiration? I wanted to make an animated series without all the magic and stereotypical wolfness, which may seem contradicting, but there you have it. I didn't have the complete plot planned out until the last minute, honestly. A lot of the stuff, including the existence of Jaws, Dagger, and Hurricane, was made pretty last minute, and Cobalt's actual death, like how he was going to die, was made last minute too. As for assistance in animation and writing, no. I asked Amber to read over stuff and tell me if it's good, but the actual writing and animating was all done by yours truly. I feel that it takes away from the fun if you don't do it yourself, you know? Originally, Cobalt was supposed to turn evil, and originally, he was supposed to meet this wolf shortly after he got into a heated argument with Aidan. If we looked at this in the aspect of the actual series, probably around here. Anyways, this wolf, if you notice his pupils, is blind, kind of like Cobalt. So the idea was that vengeful little Cobalt was supposed to befriend this wolf and sort of manipulate him into helping him reenact his revenge or whatever. Eventually, Aidan was going to confront his brother, and then when push comes to shove, kill him. Because the original plan was for Cobalt to have no guilt or remorse or reconciliation, and I didn't like that, so I didn't keep it. Another thing about the plot of Blood Brothers, after I trashed the idea of Cobalt going fully bonkers, was that Cobalt was supposed to die in a forest fire. I wanted his death to sort of go back to what Iris warned the two about in episode 4 about staying away from humans, so basically I was planning on having Cobalt storm off, kept it, Aidan get caught in a bear trap, kept it, and then run to his brother's safety. Bingo, all the same, except when Cobalt was angry, he was supposed to be uncomfortably close to human territory, and without realizing, knock over a lighted cigarette, which would in return start a forest fire. I got rid of this idea for multiple reasons. For starters, I didn't want Cobalt's death to be his own fault, but like his mother warned him about, the fault of the inevitable danger of wandering into human territory. Oh yeah, and I suck at animating fire. Iris's death was caused by a disease known as tuberculosis. Just in case you don't know what that is, boom, here you go. As for Aidan's relationship with his father, Aidan was too young to know much about him. Aidan didn't suffer from the same verbal abuse and harassment as Cobalt from a young age, mainly since Cobalt was the firstborn, not to mention spitting images of his father, so as an innocent and pure little pup, Aidan stayed that way. Sure, Cobalt didn't exactly like his father, but he never intentionally ruined his brother's image of him, just sort of shrugged it off. If Cobalt and Aidan were kept as girls, the storyline probably would have followed its original path, meaning neither Hurricane, Dagger, nor Jaws would even exist. For those of you who don't know, when Aidan left Cobalt at the end of episode 6 and crossed the river, he did meet a female wolf on the other side, Kate. She took Aidan back to her wolf pack, also known as the Pack of New Blood, cough cough, that's going to be important. The two fall in love and live happily ever after, or whatever. For now. Kate's father, Boulder, later dies, and Aidan and Kate actually inherit the position of Alpha, which is more or less where the sequel series will take place. Kind of. This series will actually start when Aidan's pups are near fully grown, and you'll have to kind of work with their past and, like, flashbacks and stuff, so it's kind of like, yeah, you get me. To give you guys a basic summary of the sequel series, it's pretty much about the three siblings and their relationships. Unlike Cobalt and Aidan, these three's relationship is actually grown to be quite strained for reasons that you'll actually find out in this series. Basically, they'll have to work out their personal issues and unite together when a new pack comes along, and it's sort of like a mini war story sort of deal. It's definitely a sequel series, so both Aidan and Jaws will be pretty reoccurring characters in this. Additionally, almost every other character in Blood Brothers has some kind of part in this conflict, whether it's offspring, a relationship, or just something they did that impacted the plot. Which is exactly why it's going to be called Bloodlines. Not only do I find this hilarious, because it's basically a spin-off title of Blood Brothers, but the whole symbol of blood is actually really important. Not to mention, the concept of bloodlines is going to be one of the main focuses of the story and what creates the conflict, if that makes sense. It was important throughout Blood Brothers too, if you think about it, but let's not get too in depth with that. And another important question, Iris and Slate's relationship. So I wasn't exactly given a golden opportunity to explain this in Blood Brothers, since the story takes place in Aidan's point of view, and obviously he wouldn't know anything about his parents' history unless they told him. And sadly, I don't think I'll have a good opportunity to mention it in Bloodlines either. But basically, here's the story. Slate was born into the position of an Omega in his old wolf pack. From a young age, he was kind of just disregarded, and that led to Slate's burning desire for power. As soon as he was old enough to, he left his wolf pack in search of a new one. He wanted to, start a new family, pack, whatever, anything to get a position of power. So he spots Iris, who's an orphaned and lone female wolf, and being the bubbly character that she used to be, she opens up to Slate and tells him about her one desire to actually have a family of her own since she never had one. Slate uses this to his advantage. He promises Iris a family of her own, and the two becomes mates. They weren't in love, they never were, but their relationship was more or less built on mutual interest. However, Iris has no idea about Slate's true intentions. When her pups are born, she is more than thrilled to finally have her own family, but Slate can't say the same. His pups are weak, and for him to become powerful, he needs a strong family at his side to back him up. So Slate tolerates the two, hoping that they'll eventually become stronger, like Iris encourages. But then Iris starts to get sick. This is kind of like the last straw for Slate. First his pups are weak, and now his mate is dying, and knowing that neither of his pups will live up to his expectations, he flees and searches yet again for what he truly wants. Iris is left to take care of the two on her own, and although she is sick and dying, she is more or less happy. Her one true wish throughout her life was to start a family, and Cobalt and Aidan are her two children. So while it may seem that Iris's whole characterization and personality is revolved around the two, it's because it kind of is. In the end, when Iris does die, she's happy to at least have a family of her own. Even if Slate was not the ideal mate, her pups certainly made her life a lot better. Slate's nose fur changed color because he grew old. When Cobalt and Aidan were pups, he was an adult. By the time they found him again, he was actually getting elderly, so I gave him a few lighter fur patterns here and there. Of course, the exact design for his fur never seemed to stick, but you get the picture. If you also notice, Slate gets a scar by the time Cobalt and Aidan find him again too. This is important, I'm just not going to tell you why. Let's just say it'll be explained in Bloodlines how he got that little injury. Alright, so to avoid any spoilers for Bloodlines, since a lot of this will be answered then, I'll try to answer this without being too vague and also without being too specific. Jaws' initial plan was to leave the forest and escape from Cobalt. That's what he said at the end of episode 6. So he goes to visit some old friends, wink wink. Not that kind of old friends, just wink as in it's going to be important. And later he unites with Aidan's wolf pack and gets the position of a subordinate. He will actually end up having a bigger role than Aidan in Bloodlines. Dagger and Jaws met long before Slate recruited them for the wolf pack. Basically, they were living with each other on their own in the forest, and Slate recruited them, promising them power and whatnot. They were romantic partners. I wouldn't exactly say mates given the circumstances, but they were forced to get rid of their romantic status when they joined Slate's pack. Dagger actually had to go through something particularly traumatic for her, which will again be explained in Bloodlines, and that's why she's the cold and distant character that she is in Blood Brothers. Still my favorite character though, by the way. By the end of the series, Cobalt and Aidan were, wolf ears. They were young adults. A year later, Aidan has pups, and then they grow up for a year, then 3 years after that, they should be around young adults, and Aidan's on the older side. And lastly, I think changing Cobalt's end result from antagonist to protagonist was a big change, and scrapping that blind wolf too, I liked him. Squirrels. They have some pretty vulgar vocabularies. So Aidan's mate is named Kate. His pups are named Basil, Caden, and Iris. Yes, Aidan named Iris after his mother, in case that wasn't clear. Basil was actually one of the names I had planned for Cobalt, and even though Cobalt didn't take the name, I still liked it, so I named Aidan's pup Basil. Caden means royalty or something, and well, I like the name, alright? Bloodlines will have a trailer release probably sometime within the next few months. I still have to animate Among Insanity first, which seems like it might take longer than expected, so it's really unknown. Currently, I have planned out the first 6 episodes of Bloodlines, and to give you guys a heads up on how long it'll be, I'm still not near done. I'm thinking around 12 episodes, honestly, give or take. I'm not completely done with the script writing, but you get the idea. And here's a little spoiler on that in case you're curious. No. Among Insanity is completely unrelated from Blood Brothers. It was written by Amber, and basically I'm just animating it for her. It has nothing to do with Blood Brothers at all. Nothing. Zip nada. So please don't get the two confused because it just won't be fun. Everything. Oh god, the animation was terrible. I still cringe whenever I watch it. I can't believe a lot of you guys actually suffered through that, honestly. Ugh. Good writing? The series was actually never going to be called Blood Sisters. That was just a joke. But I did decide to change them for girls to boys, mainly because I like male characters. I don't know what else to say. There's really nothing more to it than that. I suppose I changed it also so I could call it Blood Brothers, and I just like the whole idea of brother bonding, if that makes sense. I don't know.